Okay. One of the reasons I wanted to have you in Miss DeLeon's class is because she has a unique situation in that some of her classes she teaches multiple levels of Spanish. So we only have one foreign language teacher, and we have kids in Spanish 1, 2, and 3. And so sometimes that means she has to have multiple levels in there. So I admire how she is able to organize her lessons and more or less kind of set up stations, so she'll work with one group of kids and then move to the other. Now in this particular case, or particular class, there were not the multi-levels, but she still has, she makes efforts to have the lessons written where the kids can see the words, where they practice it orally, where they will practice it in writing and speak, so that she tries very hard to support that we read, write, think, and talk in class every day. The lesson today was about words of emotion, and of course, being teenagers, that's very apropos for them, and I think something that they want to learn how to say because they are very emotional at this age and can use these words frequently. So they practice that at the beginning. So she again had the stems on the board. They practiced them orally and worked in their groups as well. She also tries to utilize the instructional framework that is specific to early colleges, so that and or one of several of the AVID instructional strategies that are used, so that kids are being involved in the lesson. It's not just her telling an assignment, giving it to the kids, and then they work quietly at their desk. I know you couldn't see and couldn't look at how the room is set up, but she doesn't have her classroom in traditional rows. There will be 4 or 5 kids, usually around 4, in a group, and they're facing one another, and that also helps with the oral exchange when they're practicing speaking to one another. And I don't know, can I ask what your impression is while you were in there? What did you think?
Well, I thought it was awesome. Just being able to see the students engage with one another, and just the way that the facilitator, Ms. DeLeon, she delivered in English, she translated in Spanish.
Right.
She delivered in Spanish, she translated in English.
Right.
So this was a plus. She discussed, for example, I want Gisela to turn in her project. And to translate in Spanish, it was Yo quiero que Gisela entregue el proyecto. It was awesome. She had the students to chant collaboratively different words and the way the verbs should be set up, and they knew it.
Right.
And as she was writing them down, before she could even write it, they were stating them. I mean, just watching that bilingual interaction,
Right.
the students, they're just as proficient in
Right.
the English language as they are in the Spanish
Right.
language. It was
Right.
really nice to see. And if any students had questions, she was ready to answer. She was willing to go and actually have hands-on, one-on-one feedback for that student. She allowed certain students to read the instructions and directions for the different types of verbs, like the verbs of emotions and the verbs of doubt. It was just really, really unique to watch the interaction, with the
Right.
teacher and students.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty neat.
Right. And it was, and as you could see, again, I know from the filming you can't because you couldn't show the kids, but it was a large class.
Oh,
because
yeah.
she's the only foreign language teacher we have. So her routines, her procedures, you could see the kids knew them.
Right.
There's no wasted time in there. They get right to what they need to be doing. So she sets the expectations very high. And again, I know, again, you couldn't see her, but I will describe her. She's probably, I don't even know if she's 5 feet tall. She looks like she's about 10 years old,
She does.
and yet she has no issues with the kids whatsoever. In
Right.
fact, they love her. So they know when they come into her classroom, they have work to do, but she's also established that relationship with them that there's just, everybody knows the expectations.
Right.
And they
picked
want to
that
work
up.
for her.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they walked in the classroom, they start talking amongst
Right.
themselves. As soon as she was inside the room and ready to begin, she closed the door and said, "Quiet."
And they begin.
The classroom management was awesome. Yeah,
Right,
because
right.
like you stated, she's a tiny framed lady.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
and she was ready to take attendance.
Right. And one of the things we did, I think it was 2 years ago, it could have been 3 years ago, I lose pace, but we did a book study with the book Brain Rules. And it's a really good book. It's written by John Medina, who's I think a neurophysicist or neuroscientist or something. But he in studying the brain, he came up with several what he calls rules that help the brain learn. And one of them is remember to repeat, repeat to remember. So sometimes in education, we've downplayed the importance of practice and drilling and
Right.
that kind of thing. But he points out that the brain needs that to learn things. And so you'll see her repeat several times. The kids will, follow her prompt and so forth. But it's part of that helping them learn Spanish and to try and remember it when they leave the classroom.
Right.
So
Wow.
that's part of it too.
Yeah. It was really awesome though, just watching how engaged the students were.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was really awesome to, even with another adult in the room, continuing the focus on the lesson.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
it was really
I'm glad
great.
you enjoyed it. I thought
did.
you would. I thought she would be a good person for you
It
to
was
come
awesome.
in to see. She
Thank
is. She's
you.
good. Okay.